Hi, welcome back to ASD A New Perspective. We're the podcast show that helps you understand what is going on in the mind of your child. And we do encourage you that growth for your child is possible. And welcome back to Co-Occurring Conditions, our special series. Today, Dr. Gutstein answers a question on so many parents' minds. What about behavior?
That behavior is because of something. Human beings have minds. That's the first thing we have to say. And that behavior is a response to how you're thinking, how you're feeling, how you're able to interact, how you as a person with a mind is able to journey or traverse through the world. Your behavior then becomes a way of understanding, what impact that's having, how much influence you feel, how you're doing in that journey. But it's a sign. It's certainly information that's important, but it's not the problem. It's information about that you have to then study a little bit more and say, okay, in this a person environment interaction, right? If we're seeing behavior we don't like, something's going wrong in there. Either the environment and what the person is doing, how they're engaging with that environment mentally. How they're using their resources in that environment. Let me look at it that way, that we have mental resources, we have psychological resources. That's what makes us human beings, is we have those resources that we can put to use in dealing with our environment, right? In managing our world, whether that's other people, right? And when we see, quote unquote, behavior problems, we're saying, okay, there's something going on in that interaction between person and environment that isn't working. And you can't so the behavior just gets you started and saying, okay, well, let's try to understand why this behavior is a sign it's not working. Why is it not working? It could be just the environment is just overwhelming for that person. We see that all the time. Or it could be the person doesn't know how to access those resources appropriately or effectively, right? They don't know how to use their mental resources, and they're just reactive. They don't know how to mediate. They don't know how to put any buffer in between what the environment is giving them and, their immediate reaction to it. I mean, there's so many potential things. So when we look at behavior, we have to say, no, behavior is not the issue. We're not treating behavior, but we're saying behavior is information, just like emotion is information, just like thought, just like language, about, the success that this person is having in engaging with this dynamic environment, right? This complex, unpredictable, stress-producing, problematic environment that we all function in, and being able to bring your resources to bear, what you have, in order to succeed with that, right? And that's what a behavior problem is. It's saying, no, there's something wrong, but you can't know what. So if you just how do you treat behavior then? You see, because you don't know what is happening in that, right, in that complex sort of system of persons, environment, of resources, constraints, the challenges the environment may have for that person, the problems they may be facing, the complexity. The environment may have overwhelming complexity to them that you're not even aware of, right? Because they're having much more trouble filtering and processing. And if you don't know that, I mean, you'll see a behavior problem, but you won't have any idea that it may be, right, related to that. Or they may just not know how to deal with the unpredictability that we take for granted, the variations, and they may not know that they can do that. And so they may be trying to stifle it or cut it out or control it, right? Making everything predictable, which is very, you're going to be unsuccessful. It's going to make you even more upset when you try to control your environment and make everything predictable. And it's going to create more behavior, if you will. But how do we know until we take that apart and say, okay, so behavior is a starting point, but it certainly doesn't tell us what to do, nor should it. And I think that's, when you think about it, that's what psychology has learned over the last 50 years. We no longer are behaviorists, for a good reason, because we can't be very effective just looking at behavior. We have to look at terms of motivation. We have to look at history. We have to look at what you're experiencing. And basically, what are you bringing to bear, and what is the environment? How is the environment impacting you as an individual, as a unique person, which is different than for me, and then what resources are you able to bring to bear to be successful in it? And also that includes things like your mental state, your sense of self too, your sense of personal agency, your sort of sense that you can have influence in the world, your sense of, as we talked about, growth seeking versus stability maintaining. So how you perceive yourself in the world, your sense of competence, all those things are just factors that, we have to understand if we're going to make sense of things. And behavior is just, as I said, it's a starting point. It's interesting. Autism, we already know, is people with autism behave like anybody else. They have behavior, and just like us, behavior for when there are things that you do in your behavior where somebody will say, you don't look too like you're yourself, or you don't look like you're having trouble. They try to interpret your behavior, but they have no idea what to do about it. I mean, imagine if you said, well, some thoughtless people would say, you ought to try yoga or something. I mean, people that don't really care about you would just throw something out. But most people would say, they'll use behavior as a starting point and saying, are you okay? There's something they want to know what's going on, right? Or you'll look at your own behavior and you'll say, I haven't been myself, or I'm not feeling in control, or whatever. And by the way, everyone has to look at, has behavioral issues. No one's behaving perfectly that I know. And whether it's eating or smoking, some people, or, whatever they do, driving too fast or whatever, many people have issues with behavior. So the same thing with ASD is that it's a starting point. You're saying, okay, what behavior tells you is that there's this fit between person and environment is not optimal right now for this person. It's not right. And we think of it as typically it is not helping. It's a sign that they're not involved in growth seeking. They're doing something else, right? Whether that's trying to control things, limit things, keep stability, right? All those behaviors, or that they're just having so much noise that it's just disorganized behavior. It's just that they can't organize themselves because they feel so overwhelmed. They're experiencing the world so chaotically. And then you have to start and pull that apart and say, well, what's going on? And then try to help that person to be able to feel like they to help them to feel like they can engage with that, what we call dynamic environment, in a more productive way, right?
Thank you, Dr. Gutstein, and thank you for joining us for ASD, A New Perspective, and our special series, Autism and Co-Occurring Conditions, a podcast show where we tell you what is going on in the mind of your child, and we do continue to encourage you that growth for your child is possible. I'm Kat Lee. See you next time.